We're reconvening from closed session. At this point, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there such a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Is there an opportunity for public comment?
There will be opportunity for public comment.
On that specific
Before you
item?
vote, correct?
No, public comment is going to be after we vote.
What about that
Oh, no,
vote?
no, that's illegal.
I'm sorry, we have public comment scheduled on our agenda. It does not precede the consent agenda. We're following the agenda. We're required by law to follow the agenda as posted. Excuse me, you're out of order.
Thank you, but what you're
When
doing
you're
is
out of order,
illegal.
when we have public comment, I'll invite you up
Thank you.
to say anything you'd like to say.
Thank you.
There is a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you.
My name is Linda Ross, and I have a student here in the district. I have to say, I'm very shocked at what I saw happen here tonight. I'm a lawyer. I have been in the business of advising public bodies, public agencies for over 20 years. Under the Brown Act, before you vote on anything that's on your agenda, you must allow public comment on that issue. And that includes your consent agenda. And your consent agenda happened to have on it some things that were of great interest to people who showed up here tonight and wanted to make public comment. From what I saw, you appeared to have a pre-orchestrated plan to come out, to move and approve the consent agenda without allowing anybody to make public comment. So you have just violated the government code, section 54954.3A, which says, and I'm reading from the Attorney General's booklet, the public must be given the opportunity to comment before or during the legislative body's consideration of the item. Right? You just violated that. And because you violated that, there are consequences. Number one, everything on that consent agenda is void. If you thought you approved it, you didn't. That's number one. Number two, there are civil remedies. Individuals or the district attorney may file civil lawsuits for injunctive, mandatory, or declaratory relief. And I've seen this happen. I've seen the district attorney investigate public bodies that violate the Brown Act. Attorney's fees are available to prevailing plaintiffs. All right, let's go on. Criminal sanctions. The district attorney may seek misdemeanor penalties against a member of a body who attends a meeting where action is taken in violation of the act and where the member intended to deprive the public of information which the member knew or has reason to know the public was entitled to receive. Right? I tried to stand up. I tried to tell you. You told me to stand down. So now I'm telling you, I think the best thing for you to do is contact your lawyer. Find out what to do next. You're going to have to redo the whole thing. You can't possibly approve these salary increases without allowing any kind of public comment. And I have another comment, which I would have made if you had allowed public comment, and that is this. Your agenda, I'm glad you took that one agenda item off because that was a Brown Act violation. But your agenda item on the supervisor's salary was another attempt to obfuscate. You'll notice that for the other salaries, the principal, the assistant principal, it says salaries on the agenda item. For the superintendent, it says addendum to management contract. And if you
Okay, I'm going to ask you to stop now. I've given you a couple extra minutes. I hear what you're saying. We have a difference of opinion, and we will consult with our attorney. Thank you for that advice.
My name is Joe Mackay. I'm a parent of 3 teenagers
two of them in this district. Here, we've moved the time of these school board meetings to 4 or 4:30. Although this was not published correctly, they used to be at 7 when parents could attend. How are parents with jobs supposed to be able to attend and make comment at a school board meeting when it's being held at this time and you've changed the traditional location? So we've gathered to discuss Dr. Laura Kimball's raise for a job well done, and a raise to Dr. McDowell. What a tenure it's been. You canceled IB, you canceled Latin, you canceled Mandarin, you canceled 3 fine math teachers. How are things going at TAM at the math department? It seems that you made the paper recently. You canceled honors geometry at Drake. You canceled you canceled honors chemistry at Drake. You canceled honors geometry here. You canceled summer school. You canceled P1 and P2 math at TAM. Let's see, we spent millions of dollars on iPads and new tech. How's that working at Drake? Where are the surveys? What basis, what metric was it used to expand the new tech program at Drake? I recall Mrs. McCauley quoted in the papers noting all those bright and happy faces. Well, we saw the unofficial survey, and they weren't happy faces. 90% of those students were rather distraught about the program. And now we're here to give a raise to this kind of behavior. I'm severely disturbed by what has transpired with this district. I think it's time we need new leadership, not new raises. Thank you.
Next person, please.
It's okay, I'm Benedetto Chico, I have 2 kids here at Redwood. And I am going to make a point to try to make every board meeting to remind the board members that you are trustee of the community. The second comment is that every time we come here, we see this siege bunker mentality where you are on that side and everything that parents or teachers say that is not within your line, instead of trying to create a kind of a collaboration, at least try to know why some people are so upset, you come up with what Mr. Walter did today, shutting up the people making a legal point. Why is that? We pay taxes, we send our kids to school, we volunteer, we donate. Why we got to be treated like that?
And I think would you like to stay for a moment? We're going to reconsider the consent agenda if you'd like to speak to it.
I'm sorry, there's another program at the
Okay.
10 o'clock. I'd love to. Oh, now you're going to reconsider the consent
Yes, we've
agenda
taken,
after everybody's
excuse me,
gone?
Michael, we've taken your advice, we've consulted with the attorney, and my understanding is something was incorrect. And I'm going to ask for a motion to reconsider.
I would ask that you do that when the meeting is better attended. That seems like a very feeble response to address the issue.
Thank you. I apologize to you for misspeaking to our guest, and we have done as was suggested, and we've sent a query to our legal counsel, and he's advised me that my understanding was incorrect. However, he has suggested that we do have a means to remedy, and that means for remedying is to entertain a motion to reconsider the matter of the consent agenda, and then open it for public comment. And I'm sorry that people are not here. This is not intentional.
Also for the board to consider the comment that was given during public comment in their vote.
Okay, so the comments that were made in public comment apropos, that should be considered. They were heard and they were listened to. They were part of sequence. So I'd like to know if someone would care to make a motion to reconsider.
So what you're looking for is a motion to
Reconsider
reconsider the approval of the consent agenda?
Yes.
All right, I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of reconsidering?
Are you going to take public comment?
Yes, I am, but I first of all need to have this motion passed that we will reconsider. So is there, do we, all those in favor of reconsidering as per the motion, and second, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Fine. And is there anyone opposed? Okay. The motion will, consent agenda will be reconsidered, and we will now open for public comment on the consent agenda. And I won't even start the timer since you've been so patient to wait.
Thank you. Linda Ross.
mother of a student in the district.
Can you say the name again?
Linda Ross, R-O-S-S. First of all, let me say that I don't think you can cure what happened. You refused to take public comment on a vote where public comment was required. People who wanted to make that public comment are now gone. So I do not believe that you can cure it. I think what you need to do is to re-agendize it for your next meeting and have it properly agendized and then take public comment at that time. It's just fortuitous that I'm still here. I was very interested in the presentations that were being made tonight, and it's just fortuitous that I'm still here. There are other things going on in the district tonight that people, wanted to attend, so they're gone. So I don't think you can cure what has happened. I think that even if you do vote now and approve the consent agenda, it's going to be void, and it's going to be illegal to pay people those higher salaries until you do it right. So, it's really unfortunate that it happened this way, but that's what you decided to do. I also want to say to the, is it Mr. Walter, who's the, yeah, you have been extremely rude to me, and I, as a person who is in a public office, I don't think it's appropriate. And I have represented and been around many, many office holders in my career. It's never appropriate to speak that way to somebody. It's just out of order, and frankly, I'm pretty shocked by the way you acted. So let me address, though, if you are going to take a vote, let me address what I think the legal issues are in your vote. First of all, you're not supposed to be talking about the salary in closed session. Okay, that's an open session item. You can do a personnel evaluation in closed session if you properly notice it. You're not supposed to be talking about the salary in a closed session. You also weren't supposed to be talking about other things, which is clear to me you were doing. You were clearly pre-planning how you were going to run this meeting. You would arranged ahead of time to take the consent items out of order, put them at the top of the meeting, and ram through a vote without taking public comment. You clearly talked about that ahead of time. You all knew it was going to happen. That's illegal. You're not supposed to do that. All right? So there's another illegal thing you did tonight. The agenda items that are listed in the consent calendar, I also think that you have failed to properly agendize the raises for the superintendent. Again, when you talk about, we have 13D, approve management team salary schedules. Okay, we know what that is, right? But then we have E, management contract addendums. Nobody knows what that is. Nobody knows that the proposal was to raise the superintendent's salary. It's not, your average person does not know about that, and they might be interested in it, especially because just yesterday in the Chronicle, there was a huge article about superintendent salaries all over the state. And people might have actually been interested in how our district compares. What is the salary that is being paid to our superintendent? How does it compare? Someone might actually have been interested in that. So I think you have a Brown Act violation there. Then let me just talk about the substantive issues. When I looked at this, and I looked at some prior agenda items, it became clear to me that the superintendent had been the labor negotiator for the management team salaries and some other salaries. So she had acted as the labor negotiator. And the management team and others, they're getting 7% over a 2-year period. But then, somehow, that 7% that was negotiated by the superintendent ends up being applied to the superintendent's salary also under the rationale that that's what everyone else got. That's a problem. You shouldn't do it that way. You need to have a separate compensation committee. You look at the superintendent, and the two top people, and you decide what their raises should be. You should do that independently. You can't piggyback on whatever she was able to negotiate for other
Okay,
employees.
Ms. Ross, I've given you like 5 minutes, and I'm going to correct a few things. Number one, none of this was discussed in closed session. Number two, Dr. Kimbrell did not negotiate the management teams. They have a negotiator of their own. Number three, the board met with proper counsel, and we were a committee that examined the superintendent and the assistant superintendent's salaries independently. They are under contract, and so we cannot put them on a schedule. That's why it says contract addendums, because their contracts call for their salaries to be addendums to the contract. That's how it's set up. And so I have apologized to you. I will apologize to you again. I was misinformed. I did not mean to be rude. I'm sorry you took it that way. And I'm also sorry that given that you have chosen to find all these other areas that you think we violated. We have not, but you're welcome to make that assertion, and I can understand how you would.
And just kind of a point of clarification, your agendas list the superintendent as the labor negotiator. You don't list somebody else as the labor negotiator going into those closed sessions about the contracts. So one would not know if there was another labor negotiator. That's number one. Number two, if you're talking about salaries in closed session, no, you don't talk about the salaries in closed session. You can talk about performance in closed session.
We can talk about contract in closed session.
You do not. If you are talking, so far, there's been no discussion out in the open about why a raise is being given to the superintendent. Maybe she's entitled to it, maybe she's not. But that is the kind of thing you're supposed to talk about out in the open.
Thank you. I'm going to now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there such a motion?
I don't want to make it.
Okay. Does anyone want to make that motion?
So to that end, I guess then what I would ask is that we remove from the consent agenda 13A, 13C, 13D, 13E, you said 13F.
Okay, so there's a motion then to table the items that have been removed from the consent agenda to the next meeting. Is that correct?
To have them brought forth for consideration at the next meeting.